Hi, this is Diana Papilli with day 85 of 100 days of videos. And yesterday I suggested that you step out of your comfort zone. Well, I am really going to step out of my comfort zone today because I'm going to talk about a topic probably I'm not really qualified to talk about. Now, I'm a mom and I raised my daughter. So, and that's all I'm going to say. But I don't have young children now. I recently spent some time with my family and I watched up close and personal how my daughter and son-in-law are raising their daughter. And I have to say, I'm really impressed. In fact, I kind of wish I knew some of the things that they knew. I wished I had known it then because I might have used those techniques and those tools then. So I'm not criticizing anybody. But there is something that I think is important to consider and just take a look at. And so the topic today is, are we teaching our children to be victims? I belong in a subdivision, or I live, Tom and I live in a subdivision, and we have a private Facebook page just for this subdivision. And we communicate with each other that way, and it's actually a good way to do it. So one of my neighbors posted, and I'm not going to read the whole post, I'm going to kind of condense it, but she said, here's what she posted. She said, trying to be as nice as possible, but something needs to be said. Thank you to the 3 teenage boys, and then she went on to describe them, for coming onto our property, running through it, and then proceeding to think it was funny to destroy the snowman the kids had built. They took off down the road, and the second I opened the door to say something, they took off down the road the second I opened the door to say something. Please, if they are your boys, pass along a thank you to them for putting my 3 kids in tears for destroying their snowman. I have now had to explain a hard lesson in bullies. That's where I kind of got a little bit, I went, time out here. I don't think that kids tearing down a snowman is bullying your children. Am I wrong here? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm this brave new world in which we find ourselves. I'm just kind of like the older generation and I don't get this. But I've seen children be bullied. I was bullied, and not so much bullied. There were a couple of people at school who intimidated me rather than bullied me. But I think today they'd be called bullying. But I don't think this is, basically, are we teaching them to be a victim? Now, I can understand, depending on the children's ages, and I don't know how old they were. I don't know this particular neighbor. But depending on the children's ages, if they were young enough, they may very well have cried over their snowman being torn down. But the snowman is going to melt in another day or two. It's the weather here is not that cold that the snowman would stay up for 24 hours even. I mean, remnants of it might be up, but whatever. And so I think this would be a great moment, not to teach your children that they have been bullied, but to teach them that it felt bad when somebody didn't respect your property and your creation. Maybe it would feel bad, like how, aren't you glad that you know how this feels now and then you won't do this to somebody else? Or make it a teachable moment about the fact that a snowman wasn't going to last anyway. Like, oh, I'm so sorry that snowman got torn down. He was melting anyway, so what difference does it make? We'll build another snowman the next time it snows. And so rather than teaching our children they're now victims of bullies, which I don't think these children were, they were just victims of a childhood prank, and not to make such a big deal of it. And she went on and did some, made some other comments. Turns out, and I almost said something. But I'm so glad I kept my mouth shut, because the truth is it all got worked out, and it did get posted on our Facebook page. Turns out one of the other mothers was a neighbor, and she talked to her kids, and it turned out I guess she kind of described to kids, you know, in the post. And it turns out that it was her boy, one of her boys and a couple of his friends who they were tearing through the yard, but they didn't even recognize that melted snowman as a snowman, or so they said. And they just kind of tore through it and kept running. So now, could these kids be telling the truth? Probably not, because as long as snowmen have been being built, there's been somebody to wreck them. And sometimes we wreck them ourselves. So I think it would have been more advisable, or if I were in that situation, I would make that a teachable moment, more about the impermanence of things and the fact that the snowman was going to die anyway, and those boys didn't hurt you. And yeah, it was sad that the snowman got destroyed, but Mother Nature was going to take care of that in less than 24 hours. So, in fact, I think it was 24 hours after they built it, and so Mother Nature probably did a pretty good job of taking care of it. But to just teach our children that they are now victims of being bullied. No, they weren't. That's not being bullied. And if somebody does something that's aggressive or even intimidating, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're being bullied. It just means that they might be being a jerk, and you can either ignore them, or even at some point teach them to stand up for yourself when it's time to stand up for yourself. And I'm not so sure that tearing down a snowman is something to stand up for yourself about. But that's just my perspective. I certainly could be wrong. I've been wrong once before. I imagine I could be wrong again here in this situation. But have a great day. I guess I'm kind of sounding off a little bit. Have a great day, and talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.